Good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy Scoville. You're on the lifeboat. What's happening? It's good to see all of you. It is hump day. This is always a good one, right? You get by Wednesday and you feel like you're on the downhill run into the end of the week. And this is just going to be a cool day on the lifeboat. There's so much wild crap that I'm going to be talking about later on today. I'm going to be doing other shows. Some Epstein stuff that you're not going to believe, and it has nothing to do with people. It has to do with his how he left the planet. Some pretty crazy stuff to talk about there. And a lot of you have requested that I comment on the Gypsy Rose thing, and I shall. And I shall. It's your birthday. My goodness. Well, happy birthday. I am so glad that you're sharing it here with us this morning. I'm sorry that it has gotten off to a rough start. I have a feeling it is going to get better for you. I really do. I have a feeling it is going to get better for you. I also saw someone, and I wish I could go, let me see if I can go all the way back without blocking someone or doing something else stupid, because I'm not good with this. This is Calhoun's department. But I did see, see that? I almost did it. I almost did it. Debbie. It was Debbie. I believe it was Debbie. Yeah. That was talking about making an appointment for your heart. Very happy about that. Debbie, please go and do that. That's the right thing to do. Talk to your medical team. They will give you options, and then you make decisions. It really is the way to do this every time. Right? Attack it. Don't if you wait, I promise it doesn't go away. It just follows you, right? That's with anything, whether it's medical or anything else. If you run from it, by the time you got to turn around and fight it, you're absolutely exhausted. It's the wrong way to do business. Yeah. Completely the wrong way to do business. I get it. Oh, I get it, Debbie. But you know, the crazy thing is the scared part's behind you. Honestly, once you and this is in everything, people. This is something that crippled me for the majority of my adult life. Pulling the trigger, right? Whatever it was, as sad as this is, I wasted decades of my life because I had the inability to pull the trigger on things. And I mean the simplest of things, taking care of a speeding ticket, right? I know I got to go to court. On the 7th of June, right? June 7th. The 5th comes. I got to be there on the 7th. If I don't, they're going to put out a warrant for my arrest. The 6th comes. Got to be there tomorrow, man. I ain't blowing this off. I got to be there tomorrow. The alarm goes off. You get up and you're like, man, I got to walk into that building. And those buildings are terrifying. If you're a criminal, just walking into a building like that, or if you're somebody that's been prosecuted, walking into buildings like that, it's unpleasant. And I'd bail. Right? I'd bail. I'd peel off to the right. Simon's girl looking good in green. Thank you. And I'd bail. And the smallest thing now snowballs. You feel me? Walt Whitman, keep your face always towards the sunshine, and shadows will fall behind you. That's lovely. And I love anybody that'll bust out with a Walt Whitman quote at, 10 after 5? Beautiful work. 4 after 5, even better. We do a bit of a roll call now that I haven't run anybody off. Let's see. Hello, Shannon. Honey, good to see you. Charlie Murphy, my man. VT Kittens here. You know, I do have a very big soft spot for all things VT. Tommy, question. Did you hear about Rex Huberman? Don't know how to spell his last name. He was charged yesterday with the 4th woman. Yeah, yes. Yeah. This is something we may talk about in the near future, honey. So, but yes, I am familiar, and it's disturbing. You know, I hope that it happens too. I really do. And more often than not, it does. And, you know, it does in a lot of different ways. You know, for some people, it's The fact that somebody's tuning them up on a regular basis. Inside, there are people who get extorted. There are people who get terrorized. There are people who get abused physically, emotionally, right? And everywhere along the spectrum, the people who manage to somehow dodge that, the people with bad paperwork who can get through that, imagine being a feeder fish, right? Imagine being the little fish that they throw into a tank, and your job is to get in there and get eaten. You might make it. You just might make it big enough, right? And long enough that they might not be able to kill you. It isn't going to be a pleasant 3 or 4 months, right? You're going to be, you're not going to be sleeping well. You're going to be, it's tough. I got a really horrific email from somebody that described in great detail what they hoped was going to happen to Mr. Masterson. And I'll tell you something. I don't like the cat, and I don't like what he did, but what he did should never be perpetrated onto somebody, even if it's as a way to pay somebody back. You know what I'm saying? That's a very difficult thing. Good morning to all. I have a super great news. I finally have an appointment today with my family doctor to specifically talk about meds for my multiple migraines. God bless you. How cool is that, Ann? Yeah. Pull the trigger, right? Get in there, get it done. If something's coming up, your best bet is to just go at it, people. I promise you, it's not going to go away, right? You need to take care of what you need to take care of. It's huge. Okay. What does it mean to you, Tommy, when you say, I wasted a whole decade of my life? Let's see if you finished that thought, Jen. I don't know that you did. Well, I'll tell you what. The time that I spent, I mean, honestly, nothing is wasted because of where I'm at today, and I wouldn't trade it. But it's a fairly pathetic use of time. And if I spent the majority of that time committing crime, I think that's a waste. If I was stealing to support a drug habit, right, I'm wasting that decade. And yeah, and I did that. There was also I was morally bankrupt in the years that I wasn't going into banks to rob them. I was figuring out other ways to steal and to rob and to get over on people. And that's awful. Calhounis on the quick draw. I was actually reaching for that. That's my boy. 13 days, no drinking, off to a good start. That is so much better than off to a good start. A day is off to a great start. You're closing in on 2 weeks. Where's that official participation challenge of the lifeboat? We're going to do this again tomorrow too, because 14 is really kind of an epic thing. So do come back in the morning so we can do this again tomorrow. But 13, man, 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah, you do have this, right? People, I love it when everybody. The lifeboat is a beautiful thing, people. It really is. It is an absolutely beautiful thing. And Smith, please be safe. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting afternoon on the boat. It's going to be an interesting afternoon. There's some interesting stuff to talk about. I've been, as I said, I am going to keep in contact with certain cases. There are going to be cases that I'm going to follow until I feel like they are really done, because sadly, things that get right into the consciousness of our country, right? Things like the cases that, the Epstein case, things like that, where it is so much a part of everything that's going on in the consciousness of the country. And you think, wow, and they got a way of fading away. They got a way of disappearing. And sadly, we'll talk about them decades later, like, nah, nobody thinks Oswald was the only dude that shot Kennedy, right? I mean, honestly, if you ask most Americans, probably 6, 7 out of 10 go, no chance, right? And the vast majority of those will say that a 3-letter agency had something to do with it. Just gives you an idea of the faith that we got, right? But I don't intend to let this one die. I really don't. I think that you gotta, if it's just filthy, right? If it just looks filthy, man, then I don't know. I'm really uncomfortable with it. I'm gonna keep yelling about it. Susie Q, I'm so glad you said this out loud because number one, you are not the only person here that is working through that entire that same process. A bunch of people struggle opening their mail because there's things in there that we don't want to see, bills, etc. Right? People that are going to be yelling at us. Organization, right? I remember being overwhelmed with bills and things of that nature. Every single time, people, it gets down to organization. The more organized I got, for me, the more organized I got, the more I realized that I could take care of everything in my life. It never ever came down to what was coming in. It didn't. More often, in my life, 100 out of 100 times, right? But more often with people I see as well, it's what goes out, right? We waste epic amounts of money on really, really stupid stuff. You know it. We really do. If you start doing that thing as I was talking about, write down every single penny you spend on everything and watch what happens. You will start to get a very serious appreciation for where your cash goes. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Not everybody appreciated it. And the really funny thing is, I've done that show probably 5 times, maybe 6. But I guess the timing. But I do that show often. I really do. It's a sad thing that all of us find ourselves almost pro forma, right? We find ourselves apologizing for our disease. And it's because society has told people for so long that there's something wrong with us that that a lot of people don't have sympathy. Now, it doesn't matter what the problem is, because if you're struggling with mental illness, there are people who are going to rag on you about that. What you're fighting is pick anything. For real, any reason you're on the boat. I don't care what it is. There is a massive stigma attached to it. Because if there wasn't, you wouldn't be here. I promise. Pick anything. Right? The people oh yeah, there's absolutely dysfunction and mental health issues in every single family. You are damn right there is. But nevertheless, we all still want to bury our head in the sand. And a lot of people just can't handle it. You know what I mean? They just even talking about it. But that goes for every single thing that drives people here. If you're struggling with gambling, I promise you, there is no chance in hell you want anybody that knows you knowing that that is your affliction. Because think of all of the things that go in your head when I say gambler, right? And you people are the most loving and forgiving people, the most accepting people I've ever met anywhere. But when I said gambler, there's an image that comes into your mind. It's very hard, right? But this is with everybody. If by some chance if you're trying to lose weight, right? If you're here because of self, your image and how you feel about yourself is a problem, right? It's because there is a huge amount of stigma that society puts on crap like that. And it's done since we're kids. And to be really honest with you, right? Be really honest with you. It's an epidemic. It really is. It's an epidemic. Nobody feels good about who they are anymore. Nobody. It doesn't matter what you are trying to work on in your life. There's a stigma attached to it. You know, and it's what makes us really struggle with every one of these issues. If you could just talk about them, like, hey, the Honda blew a right front tire. They're going to get in some all 4 replaced as opposed to 1. Maybe take it over to Big O tires. Big 3. Probably as good as anyone else, right? Doesn't matter. If you could talk about any of the afflictions we talk about here on the boat in the exact same nonchalance, then I don't think we would have much of a problem with any of the things that we struggle with. You saw Kenny Rogers. You know what? I actually wondered right after I said that if somebody might, if I would have gotten the Kenny Rogers reference. A great song, by the way. Love that song. Love that song. You know what? That was going quick. I don't know who we're sending thoughts and prayers to, but I like it. Can I get some? Oh, there we go. Can I get some thoughts and prayers for my hubby, please? He's a truck driver. Oh, and it's an icy mess here in the Pacific Northwest. Absolutely. It means it is our way of sending whatever you send. If you're new to the chat, the ones are a way for us to say, hey, this, for some people it's prayer, for some people it's just a positive thought, and for some people they do really weird stuff, and that applies to them and them alone, and that's great because we don't really care what you're doing, but we all are doing it. Whatever it means for you, sending a virtual positive hug, and even Squirrel, she may not look like it, but even she's in on this one. Her eyes are open. She's not even doing the sleeping cat thing. She's just sort of relaxing toughly in the pillow. The country's in a mess weather-wise, man. Hey, Paint It Black, good to see you back. I like it. I do. I like it. I like it when people return, right? This really is one of those things. I hate to say it because it does sound like the 12-step stuff. But you know what? If you keep coming back, anything that you take an hour or two a day and dedicate your dome to it, right? And this is not something, again, that Tommy Scoville came up with, right? This is almost accepted. And you can, if you Google it, you'll see some great speeches because a bunch of public speakers have done this. But if you take 1 hour, right, 1 hour a day, and you say, I am going to dedicate 365 hours this year to this. I don't give a crap what this is. If you really do take 60 minutes and say, that's it, that's what I'm going to dedicate that hour a day to. Do you have any idea how much you can learn? Seriously, in 365 hours, you can become well-versed in damn near anything, right? Jen, I'm sorry. And that's the truth. Unless I'm really, you know what? If I'm around friends, that's definitely the case. If I'm around friends, that's the case. If I'm not, then I normally go into into that public speaker voice where you try not to let people know what part of the country you're from, because people will absolutely decide whether or not they want to purchase something based on what your accent is. No, you know what? It's way more fun when you're around friends. I was just busting on you, Jen. I know you were kidding me. I'm not worried about it at all. No, I like the fact that I'm definitely more laid back here. You have a question for Squirrel. Where did you get that super basket? My cat saw it and they want one. Yeah, I cannot say that that I blame them. This basket is the second basket. Squirrel outgrew the first one. She got a little older.
She might outgrow that.
There's a chance. On the bright side, see, now does it look a little better?
Hoist her up. They're talking. They want to see it.
Yeah, hold on. See this? So this basket, right? Believe it or not, this basket was brought back from Africa by a friend of mine who brings baskets back from Africa as a way to make money. And they sell via shows. So I would see them at the watch shows that I would go to, and they're just lovely people. And I said to them, I need a basket about, yay big, and told them why. And she said, because you have a cat you need to put in one. And I said, hold on. And I pulled up the lifeboat and I showed her probably 25 endings. I'm like, you don't understand. Like almost every single time I end the show, there's a cat in a basket. It's kind of our thing. And she brought like 3 or 4 out, and they were kind of like the handled baskets. I'm like, I kind of want to display the kitty. So she pulled this one out, and it has been perfect. It took her about 2 days to adjust because cats are, they just want everything on their terms. I know she likes this one more, but she wanted me to pay for the fact that I wanted to make a change in her life. And I'm willing to do it because I am a slave to this cat. And I'm not at all messed up about it. I really am not at all messed up about it. She is a gorgeous kitty, and she makes my life better. So I'll put up with some stuff. How do I feel about? Hold on, it's about to come. I know it is. It's about to come. How do you feel about buying food for a person that is peddling on a street corner? This is a great question. It's an absolutely great question. It's a great question that will bring up so much discussion that I think is healthy. Because this is hard, right? This is probably the hardest question, especially if you're an addict, because a person who is panhandling on the corner is not panhandling for food, right? That has never been my experience. I knew a load of people who supported their habits panhandling. And throughout my addiction, I always had a car. I was not one of those people that would let myself, I would rob a bank before I would lose my car, right? Yeah, I had to have transportation. That was a very, very big deal. But so I knew a whole bunch of people, and they would say to me, hit me on my corner, right? And I would drive up to where these people were, and they would have a pocket full of money, and I would drive them somewhere, and we would pick up dope together, and they would dump a few bags on me for helping them out. And I could hit a route of them because they were everywhere. So this is going to sound messed up, but for me, I'm more likely to buy the guy a bag of dope. How's that? I mean, if I hand him money, that's what he's going to do with it. And to try to give somebody food, if that person's dope sick, they're not saying to you, I don't want the food to be rude, or I'm sorry, I really, that's not the concept of eating a cheeseburger or a hamburger when you're dope sick is honestly like there's vomit on the plate and you need to reconsume it. It is just a concept that there's no way to explain unless you've been there, but it is a violently disgusting concept. And I know that person is out there for one reason. And I also know what it feels like. Normally, though, if I'm going to do that, you're stuck listening to me. Right. And I've absolutely done it. I'll say to somebody, is it tar? What are you spending? $10 a sack? I'll buy you a bag, but I want to talk to you. And I'll hand them $10. But I'm going to say to them, hey, man, you never ever tried any kind of medical assisted treatment. Do you know that there's a way to get off of this without getting sick? Are you aware of the fact that there's a way for you to get off of this without getting sick? Because most of the cats are continuing to do it, not because they like getting high, because they stopped getting high a long damn time ago. Right? They can't remember the last time they got high. I promise you. And even if you see this one, right? Even if you see him nodding, people, that ain't high. I promise.
It's just not sick.
It's just not sick. I mean, that is the high. The high is going from wishing you were dead kind of pain to that being gone that quick. That's a buzz. That's a buzz. Now, a really great thing to do is to carry around a couple of bags of dog food, because very often you see these people with animals. And I love handing them a bag of dog food. Right? Take care of the dogs. They didn't do anything wrong. Neither did the addict for that matter. But if I'm going to facilitate this person continuing to get high, they're going to have to listen to me. And if you give them money, that is what you are doing. You are facilitating them continuing to get high. Even if you say, I'm going to take them to Walmart and I'm going to buy them X, Y, and Z, they're going to figure out a way to turn X, Y, and Z into a bag. I promise. Even if you bought them, I mean, I did this with so many times in my life because, again, I always had a car. I usually had cash. And I would meet these people and I'd go, oh, man, you know what? It's freezing out there. You can't look at you. Man, come by my house. I remember very distinctly, me and my friend, we'll call Jay, the guy that doesn't talk to me anymore. But we picked this dude up and we went from my house to his house. We styled this cat out. He would not believe what this dude looked like when he left our house. Right? For real. I mean, he was carrying a backpack and he was poloed out from head to toe. right? We just had him looking good. He was showered up, we had him shaved up. We were like, look, man, I'm going to take you down to Job Corps. And in this city, they had, you would walk in the front door, you go right for every kid, and left was for adult counseling for people that, had never been in the workforce. We got him there and we walked him in the front door. And about 4 days later, we saw him over by Pioneer Park, and everything we gave him was gone because he traded all of it for dope. You can't, I'm not mad at the dude. I'm really not. You can't, that's not how you help somebody. It's not. What you have to do is make the person come to the belief that they can live their life without that crap, and that they don't have to hurt physically to make that happen. I tell them exactly what it's going to take mentally, but I promise you, addicts are not terrified of the mental. They will be once it starts, but that's not what they're afraid of, right? Because they haven't felt mental pain in so long, they're not even really sure it exists. I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny at all. I mean, you get a hardcore junkie, dope fiend. They haven't felt pain. I mean, spiritual or emotional pain. They don't allow that to happen. Sun comes up, they're going to fix, and they're going to keep fixing until they pass out at midnight or whenever. And they're not going to allow any of that. That is usually the reason that they're doing it. So that's not the fear usually that the addict is worried about. They're worried about how bad they're going to get sick. They're worried about how bad, that process is going to be. And it's going to be really awful if they've got to do it, dry. What's terrifying? The thought among all people on planet Earth who have never had a drug problem is this: get that dude and throw him in a pit, right? Throw that dude in a pit and let him just straight kick that crap. And you watch, he'll never do it again then, huh? Right? The science goes the exact opposite. Straight up. People that go through a cold turkey kick on opiates go back, usually quickly. It just doesn't work. Why? Couldn't tell you. Did you see that? Oh, you okay, kitty? Squirrel Nut just had a bad dream and hit her head on the desk. You okay, kitty? You're okay. They do not like it when you laugh at them either. They'll get really bummed out and leave you alone for weeks. What's that? Oh man, I'm telling you, if a Tory thinks you're making fun of them, they will disappear on you for weeks. The panhandling thing it really is an issue, right? It's an issue everywhere. And here's the horrific thing. The people that really want to help cause the most problems, right? When we're done with this, or Calhounis, right? Portland, Oregon. In Portland, Oregon, what has happened up in the Pacific Northwest, right? In a lot of places, in Oregon too, where the laws became so lax, right? Where you had cities saying, you know what, we're going to put tents out to make sure that the people that are out there have a place to be out of the elements. That's a lovely idea. But it spreads like this, and it became a destination. You can look at roads that have RVs and things like that as far as the eye can see, right? I mean, miles and miles and miles and miles, right? The town's like never going to be the same. They really have, shantytown. They've destroyed cities with this concept. We want to help so badly, okay? But it's the cocoon I talked about. Remember, the caterpillar spins the cocoon around itself. As it starts to break through the side of that, as little kids, all we wanted to do was peel that and get the thing. You only do it once. You'll never do it a second time, because what you realize is the thing will never fly, ever. If you pop it out of that, as a kid, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, but I promise you it's a fact, right? And the reason is they have this slime and this nasty crap that's basically like afterbirth that they get on the outside of their wings. And the only way that that comes off is by pulling themselves through a very, very small hole in the side of, of the, what is that thing called? The cocoon. This process, which looks torturous, is something that it has to go through. It's, the vast majority of people who wind up homeless have a mental health issue, right? That is a massive, massive issue. And that if we took care of mental health issues and we took care of veterans, then the people that you had left on the street would be out there for reasons that, maybe you don't take the same kind of concern. But if somebody is out there because they have an untreated mental illness, shame on us, right? Shame on us as a country. Shame on us as people. I'm sorry, I've done it, right? We walk by people that are talking to themselves, right? And what do you want to do? You want to get away from them as fast as humanly possible, right? It's frightening. It really is. But if you call a cop, they're not going to do a damn thing. I was with, oh God, you know what? It's on the Lifeboat. I did a show on it, right? I did a show on everything that's ever happened to me in the last 3 years. I was with my nephew, and we're driving to go thrift store, where we had a circuit we would hit because they watch great watch town, pocket watches, things like that. And there's a guy standing on a street corner, not a slow one. This is a very bustling little intersection. And he's got his junk hanging out, and he's relieving himself, right? He's urinating, but he's nowhere out of sight. It's like he put himself there so that he could be seen, right? You could not have a more conspicuous spot to take a leak anywhere on that area. And it was close enough to a school that we were like, you know what? No. Called the cops, said, listen, man, there's a guy with his junk hanging out. He's literally 400 yards from a school. They came, they picked him up, they drove him 400 yards down the road and dropped him off. We watched it happen. It's horrific. That, I promise you, that dude needs help, right? That's not normal. That's really not normal. But society also needs help. They need that dude not anywhere where he can pull his stuff out in front of kids. You feel me? I mean, there's a balance here, and it's tough. My heart goes out so much. Yeah, how about the ones that are homeless, sleeping, or sitting on sidewalks against the wall? Same or no? You know what? Who knows? We don't know, right? You don't know. You don't know if you're terrified. You don't know what's going on with them, but we walk by them, don't we? I mean, as a society, we sure as hell do. They shut down the entire downtown of the area that I just moved from. There's 2 casinos open. There's nothing open downtown. Everything is shut. Everything is boarded up. All of the stores I knew. But if I were to go down there at night, I guarantee you there would be people everywhere. But I'll be honest, I didn't go down there at night. It's one of the reasons. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody alive, people. I'm not down there helping either. I wouldn't know where to start. I know that, I'll tell you what, I know that they're doing it right in this city. I promise you. I've seen some stuff here in Tucson that gives me hope for the planet.
Right.
Down to down, I love you. I get that sentiment. Oh my Lord, I get that sentiment. I didn't used to. I used to be the person that would say things like, you know what, man? Yeah, I think it's important to remember we can't save everyone. We can't change the world in a minute. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And sadly, pragmatism would go a long way, right? If we know that we determine how many prison cells we need to build by checking illiteracy rates in the 4th grade, I got an idea. Holy hell. Let's build less prison cells with that cash and see if we can't get more fourth graders literate. There's obviously a very close correlation between education and incarceration, right? If you're not educated, your odds of ending up inside are massive. And it's literally how they figure out where they're going to do this thing, right? Well, it costs a hell of a lot of money to build a prison. A lot, right? I think in the feds, they say it's 110 million. Now, by the way, you don't think they're paying for that. They're borrowing cash for that. So by the time it's all said and done, the thing's probably $500 million, right? By the time your kids and their kids pay for the interest on the loan for these things, why don't we just make sure that we really bust our hump to make sure that the vast majority of fourth graders can read? We can help the world one person at a time. Lene, I love this because this is absolutely the basis for what we're doing, right? There's no other way to put this nicely. I don't know what we call him. My Forrest Gumpish cellmate. This guy's IQ was low enough that this person shouldn't have been incarcerated. Not in a prison. I mean, he should have been punished for whatever he did, but not in a prison. He was, it was like living with a fourth grader. Honestly, it's exactly what it was like. But I was writing away, putting out what was to become the lifeboat. I love that. That's why I come here too. I didn't know it was the lifeboat, but I'm in there and I'm writing. And he says to me, "So your goal is you're going to get out and try to make sure that kids don't do drugs. And it sounds like you're going to try to save everybody, man." I was like, "No, I'm not going to try to save everybody." And he's like, "It's too much pressure, right? It's way too much pressure, man. You're not going to be able to do this, and it's going to cause you to kill yourself." And he's like saying some really bad stuff. And I was like, "Hey, man, I got this under control. I'm not going to try to save everybody." And he was like, 6 people, bro. Save 6 people. If you just save 6. And I was like, I could probably go for that, right? I could do that. Maybe that's a good number. He's like, "Well, it's not out of control." He's like, "You ever been to group therapy?" And I've been to group therapy with 40 people in there. But for some reason, my cellmate had it in his head that group therapy is always 6 people and a counselor. My gut would tell me that he was in a home of some sort and he would go to something every day. But anyway, he said, "Just save 6 people, man." And as I was writing, I said, and what do I do when I'm done saving 6 people? Then what? He said, "Save 6 more." It's a pretty cool concept. You can't save the entire world, but one addict that gets clean changes the entire world, right? We're creating ripples here. That's what we're doing. We're creating ripples. That's the goal. He sounds kind of brilliant. I said the same thing. I wrote that in my journal that day. I said he may be the smartest person that has commented on my idea since I started telling people about it. Yeah, I got chills from it too. I get chills every time I tell the story. For real. It's these ripples that go out. So often you're never going to see the payoff, right? There are 234 people watching us live right now, right? By the time this is done, about 10 times that will watch this. About 40 are going to be leaving comments, right? 35, 40. So the vast majority of people are just listening to this, which means I'm never going to know if this person is listening because their best friend has a drug problem, or if they're listening because they have a drug problem. And you know what? It doesn't matter. But we're sending ripples out. And I'll tell you something, man. I sent out ripples for 46 years and they weren't good. And I don't know what they did either. You know, I know there's a lot of damage I didn't see. I'm familiar as crap with the stuff that that was right in my face, the damage that I caused, right? The needle and the damage. The war on drugs failed miserably, worse than anything has ever failed. Truthfully, worse than anything that has ever failed. I don't even think we've won very many battles in the war on drugs. And I don't know that they ever wanted to. It's not winnable, but it is fundable. Holy hell. Second biggest budget in the entire government goes to the war on drugs. Do you think they want to give that up? Seriously. Do you think they want to give that up? We know that money's not audited, right? We don't know where any of it's going. We really don't. This just may be the greatest scam in history, right? For real. They bring in the dope themselves, then they fight it. If you don't think they're bringing it in, then you've been somewhere else for decades. Why is it every time we go to war, whatever the drug product of that place is, we end up with an epidemic, right? We were in Vietnam. Everybody came home addicted to heroin, and all of a sudden, all the heroin you needed was right there, right? Right after we left Vietnam. Fast forward to the 80s, and we got our alphabet agencies in South America, right? And they're dealing with the Sandinistas, and they're trying to make sure that communism doesn't spread in South America. I'm not against that as a concept. Great. However, their product was cocaine. And we ended up with the crack wars and the worst cocaine epidemic. I was talking with Johnny about this the other day, and we were talking about the 80s. And he said, every place you went, somebody said, you want to do a line? And that really was the 80s. Like everybody did cocaine. Everybody was doing it. It was ridiculous. But that was, once again, now we've seen movies, you've read books, right? Barry Seal, is that his name? Barry Seals? But you know the stories, right? The same bull stuff, right? I did time with a cat named Freeway Ricky Ross. Right? The real Ricky Ross. He did time at FCI Phoenix and right up the street. I want to tell you something. Fast forward again, and we're in Afghanistan. You know what Afghanistan makes? Heroin. Crap loads of it. Now, if you're a government agency and you want to be and say, Calhoun, do me a favor for grins and tell me how many places, just Google, how many places do we have that three-letter, just Google this. How many places currently do we have Americans doing things, right? Just Google, like, where do we have Americans currently? Because you think to yourself, like at the Middle East, right? If you want to do something and it's going to cost more than $50 million, you can't just go into your budget, right? You're going to have to go to Congress. And you're going to have to say to them, well, there's this dictator in another country that we might want to overthrow.
Every place we've ever had a war, we still have a military presence.
Yeah, we don't ever leave. I mean, to be sure, we don't ever leave. But just Google that for me. You know what? Because it'll... I am really, really... I'm sorry. No, like boots on the ground, anywhere. You would be astounded at how many places, but regardless.
There are only 196 countries. We have a military presence in 178.
We have a military presence in 178 of the 190 countries on Earth currently.
Wow.
Do you hear that?
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Military truce. That's what the active military truce.
Yeah.
Active 85 or 90% of all the countries on the planet.
Active military troops in 90% of the countries on planet Earth. Right. Now, if you want to do something that you don't want to tell anybody about, right? You don't want Congress to know about, how do you do it? How do you raise that kind of cash really, really quickly? Well, if you just kick the crap out of a country and you've got poppy fields as far as the eye can see, I got an idea. Let's bring back some tar. And I'll tell you something. That I was in the heyday of that. All right, this was right in the heyday of me doing dope. And I'll tell you something: if you're a smoker, right, there is going to be somebody who has burned and chased puddles on tin foil who will tell you that the stuff that comes home from Mexico had a very sweet taste, almost like sugar. And it was because they were cutting it with something that was very much like that, right? Now, in Afghanistan, you may not want to hear this, but the only thing they got to cut it with is goat feces, right? No kidding, goat crap. Now, you're like, it doesn't make a huge difference if you're just throwing in, a quarter pound on 25 pounds or 10 pounds on a ton, but it makes a long difference in the, in the long run. It also changes the taste. You will know where that dope came from because there will never be that sweet taste. It'll be something else. Still got the vinegar, everything else is the same, but there's no sweet taste at all to it. And I promise you, for a very long time, that was all we were getting. That was everywhere. And it was cheap. And the price went to the basement. All of a sudden, you could buy the stuff in blocks. It was so regulated for so long that the people that were controlling that were only selling balloons. They only sold from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. It was structured to beat the band. Yeah, just a tiny little turd, right? 1/10 of a gram. Wrapped in plastic and inside a balloon.
Inside someone's mouth.
Yeah. And yeah, so that they could keep it inside their mouth, right? And then if the cops show up, they grab their beverage as soon as they see the lights, and they take a big drink and they swallow all of it. And then they just plan on passing it out in the next couple of days, right? Yeah, cocaine was coke was scary. The coke wars of the 80s was terrifying. Terrifying.
We were just talking.
Yeah, we were literally just talking about it. It was it was a frightening time to be on planet Earth. No question it was. What's that? It is more frightening now. It's more frightening now, to be sure. Like the crack wars were different because everybody was just shooting each other. But no, I mean, that was really the issue, is there was a lot of gang violence and drive-bys and people getting shot by accident. Like the crack wars were no joke, right? But people weren't dying smoking crack at the rate that people are dying doing, ODing, obviously. You can absolutely die smoking crack, by the way. Believe it. But it's a little bit tougher than it is with Fent. Fent is the easiest drug in the world to die on. Well, opioids. But yeah, now there's no reason whatsoever for these people to even bother with that. Right? Now we don't need to. Now we don't need to bring over anything. Now it seems that the stuff is coming in, and it's meant to kill. And I'll be honest, people, I don't know what the hell's going on. I really don't. The problem with Coke is that it tends to beget more Coke. Sorry. Yes,
It's funny.
I believe the old joke was, I do a line of cocaine and I'm a new man. Trouble is that new man wants to do a line of cocaine. I've never been into weed, but I love the way it smells. Is that weird? No, I don't. I don't think that's weird. I don't think that's weird at all. Hold on one second, people. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, people. I've my throat is I have been really struggling with, I don't know what you call it, but my throat's not been good.
Called advanced years.
Yeah, it's called old age. That's what Johnny said.
I'm sorry.
You know something interesting? I tried coke, but crack was a never go, especially after watching someone use it. The stigma around crackhead is what kept me from using it. It's an absurd logic, though. I'm not, you know what, absurd or not, we all do this, and everybody who uses drugs does this, right? Like heroin addicts think of the people who do meth as meth heads, and the people who do meth think of, yeah, I'm not telling any crack stories on the air today, Calvin. I've done, if you do the number of crack stories that people, I smoked my body weight in crack. I mean, I did a ton of it. It was, hold on one second. Yes, I was smack dab in the middle of the Coke war. Never thought I'd have that much stuff at my home. I thank God every day that no one died or that we didn't get busted. You know what? It really is. What's 5 gallons? Good Lord. Do you see that? He says, I never ate pastrami, but I love the way it smells. Once again, here on the lifeboat, somebody has linked together a group of words that has never been put together in a sentence before. This happens from time to time on the lifeboat. Someone will actually utter something. If you think about how long people have been on the planet, saying something that no one has ever said before takes effort. But there you go. No one has ever said, I've never eaten pastrami, but I do love the way it smells. Nope, it's never come out of anybody's mouth ever. You know something? That's good stuff. Jeremy Shelton has cologne that smells like pastrami. True story. This has a lot to do with the fact that he's currently single. You know what I mean? And lives in a building that no one else lives in.
Was that the Sex Panther? Is that what it was?
Sex Panther?
It's illegal in 60 countries.
It's illegal
60% of the time. It works every time.
It's illegal in 60 countries. It's 60% of the time. It works every time. Famous people who died from fent in 2023. Adam Rich, 54. Lance Kerwin, 62. Austin Majors, 27. Leandro De Niro, 19. Angus Cloud, 25. There were, there's the list is terrifying. We did it on here one day. But the list of people that we've lost in 2023 is, I mean, awful. The length of it. We lost. It's just
bizarre.
It really is. Let's go with this.
If those were all soldiers and they died at war, it'd still be bizarre.
Yeah. Honestly, if we were losing 350 or 300 soldiers a day, right? We'd lose our mind. As a country, we'd lose our mind. And do you know how we know this? Because that's what happened in Vietnam. It was the first war that we ever had a body count. It was the first war where every single night on the evening news, they were literally doing a body count, right? And then you had people that went, wait a second, why in hell are we over there again? And then you had people that were filming and sending back film. And for the first time in a war ever, we were seeing things that looked like maybe we were doing atrocities. Now, I'm not saying anything about it. I wasn't there. I didn't see it, but you understand how it was portrayed. Right? So that was one of the first things really, really nasty. UA stands for urine analysis, is what UA stands for. Urine analysis.
Never a dumb question.
There's never a dumb question. It's usually called a piss test. That's what most people will call it. But the UA is,
Tom Petty did.
Tom Petty.
Most assuredly did.
Not only did he have fentanyl in his system, but yeah, it was the cause of death. It was my son's favorite artist for 6 months of his life. Oddly enough,
I remember that phase.
Oddly enough, that 6 months was from like 2 years old to like 2.5 years old.
I remember.
Do you remember?
He'd lose it.
He would hear Tom Petty on the radio. And the crazy thing is this, it didn't even have to be a song that he had heard before.
He knew Tom Petty.
but he could pull Tom Petty's voice out of anything and loved him. And then about,
Just
2 months
stop.
later, he didn't want to hear it ever again. It was a very bizarre little thing.
I'm sure. Does he like him now?
No, he does not. He's not a Tom Petty fan.
So bizarre.
Isn't that weird?
He used to get so.
Oh man, yeah,
Jump around.
he would lose his mind. You remember the horror of the nightly news? Wow. You know what? I missed. You want to hear the first thing that I really remember? Honestly, I've talked about this on the boat before. The first news story that I remember well that that shook me was Jonestown.
Ooh.
I remember, we didn't have the internet, right? And I'm not saying that for you because you all know this. I'm saying that for people that see this later. But there was no internet. It was the cover of Time magazine, and it was also the cover of Newsweek. And at the time, we got both. And I just remember looking there and seeing piles of bodies. I mean, that was what was on the cover. It was just piles and piles of dead bodies. And I had never seen anything like this in my life. And I was old enough to read the article. Yeah, James, you know what? I have that is something. This is a statement that has gained a lot of traction in the US. I don't know who I stole that from the first time I heard it, right? I've said that on the Lifeboat. I think I said it in the first 4 videos we talked about, but at the time, we were saying a 737 and the numbers were a little bit smaller, but I stole it from somebody, but I don't remember who said it first. It is a unbelievable example, right? Because we would shut down air travel, right? That we would absolutely ground every plane in America. Any illustration you want to use. If we were at war, if somebody went offshore and started firing indiscriminately into the US with bullets and killed 300 people a day, how long would we put up with that? It's the exact same thing. The bullets are not made of lead, right? They're not shaped in the same shape, right? They're round. Currently, the bullets are round. Jonestown was big. It's all I can think of now. When you go to Guyana, I'll be damned. Yeah, French Guyana. I just the word Guyana, right? The name. Yeah. Terrifying. Waco, same thing. Where it's just horrific. Those early occurrences that you see, and
here's the thing: if that plane went down, it was nothing but deplorables on the plane. They wouldn't care. That's why they don't care about who's dying from this war. It's getting the people they don't care about.
Yeah, this is Johnny makes a really good point too. Jelly Roll did an amazing job speaking. He hit it out of the park. And he's relatable. He's believable, and he's unapologetic in his message. He was absolutely there to let you know that he was sorry for what he did. But I thought it was fantastic. I really did. I thought it was amazing. Willie Weed saw Prince live. Wow.
Without a doubt, the most underrated guitarist that ever breathed.
Johnny Scoville says the most underrated guitarist that ever lived. Is that what you said? Yeah, that's what he said. You're right. Lady J is 100% right. He was doing a lot of amphetamines. That man was staying up way more than he was supposed to. When you do not go to sleep, really, really bad things happen. I think he probably had a real good dose of mental illness, I think that, you kind of got to be a megalomaniac to want to take an entire group of people to another country, right? So even before he started getting out there, like crazy out there, cult leaders, you saw Prince 5 times. Wow.
Good God.
Wow.
Wicked jealous. Not even joking. I want to talk about it. Never saw him.
This is a great question. The most underrated guitarist is Corey Feldman. He has strapped a guitar on. You've seen it. I've seen it. And apparently, so was Jeremy Shelton. You're killing me. You're killing me. Lori Swenson says, is there not a true war on drugs by the DEA? What can be done? Oh, no, the DEA is fighting. They're fighting a war on drugs. They're absolutely fighting a war on drugs. Sadly, the war is not really going after the people that have anything to do with the actual problem, right? What they do is they pick off low-level couriers, right? They're not going after the people that are bringing the stuff in. They're not. They have absolutely no desire to stop it. If they did, there are very easy things that you can do to take measures, right? Now, will those measures work? Well, that's debatable, isn't it? But if you don't even make an attempt, right? Or if you make it easier, right? No, they're not doing a damn thing. They're not doing a damn thing. Now, absolutely, absolutely, the DEA believes they're fighting. Every one of those agents believe they're fighting, and they are. They're fighting the drugs. However, the people who are putting those drugs on the street, that's the people that we have to really take issue with, right? We're not fighting those people. I promise you we're not. How is it? And again, every time we go anywhere, right, we come back with a drug problem from wherever our troops have been. That's not an accident. I promise you it's not. Check out a documentary called The Last Great White Hope. Right? It's about the freeway Ricky Ross. It's a fantastic documentary. It really is. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. You should check it out. It's worth seeing. But there's a war on drugs. We lost it a long time ago. And now what we do is we incarcerate people who can't quit, people who have drug habits, right? That can't get clean, can't get sober, very often get arrested because the lifestyle that is required to procure a black market product makes people do really stupid things, right? The drugs that I was addicted to were costing me $700 a day, right? So $5,000 a week. No getting around that, right? $5,000 a week. That was going to go in my arm so I could get up, function, do my day. Wasn't a problem when I was a speaker. It became a real serious problem when I didn't have any money and I didn't have any way of making money. And what ended up happening is you do it, that lifestyle. That's the symptom of my addiction, right? So are the bank robberies and all of the disgusting things that I did, all of that, right? Let's talk about Lacey's here. Prince, he claimed he never did drugs and crap, made fun of MJ and his issues. I would have had more respect for him if he had been truthful. Sorry, I feel some type of way about it, and I usually would not. Well, I'm glad that you are getting that out, and I think it brings up a very interesting question, right? To be honest with you, I think it brings up an interesting question. I think in his mind, he was not using drugs. I think in his mind, he was not using drugs. In his mind, he was badly injured from a life of touring and really, abusing himself on stage and doing all of these things. In his mind, he was just taking care of pain so that he could continue to play. You understand that for a lot of people, if that stuff comes in a pill bottle, that's not drugs. The doctor wrote you a prescription because you're in pain. That's not drugs. I think it was, and I know that that's stupid. I absolutely believe, I know that that's stupid. He may have not even been honest with himself, right? People who take pills don't look at themselves like a heroin addict does, right? We know what we're doing is dirty, but you take a pill bottle and you swallow a couple of pills out of it, just doesn't look the same way. Rolling Stone says, my sister and I were laughing about how we'd drink the Kool-Aid regarding her son's incredible Taekwondo instructor. Then had to explain the reference to her sweet husband, the Russian immigrant. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. That's a tough reference to explain to somebody from another country too, right? It really has just become such a part of the fabric of our country too, isn't it? We take it for granted. You know how many kids say it? They'll say, don't drink the Kool-Aid. No idea why they say it. No clue. But it has become definitely a part of our society. The lexicon. It's become part of the lexicon, Drugs have this negative stigma, when in reality, a drug is anything that changes your state of mind. That is an absolute fact, right? And there are even people that aren't on drugs are doing things throughout the course of the day in their life to change their state of mind, even if they're not taking anything. If they're not taking anything, those people usually really structure their life in such a way so that their brain gives them the exact same chemicals, right? If you're one of those people that does extreme skiing and you jump out of airplanes and you bungee jump and right? Everything you do is sort of novel and new. Guess what? You're riding dopamine and adrenaline, right? Like there's no tomorrow. Those are drugs. Those are drugs released in your brain, right? We take drugs to put keys into receptors, right, and turn the switch. Well, we've got all kinds of our own drugs in our brain. The Last White Hope is the documentary. Thank you. The Last White Hope. I appreciate that. I love it when you guys help me too. I really mean that. There was a time where I didn't make any mistakes like that. I'm not even kidding you, man. You would not believe the memory I had, but I don't anymore. Jonestown is hard to explain, period. It's just so insane that anyone went along with it long before it came to a head. You know what? This is another great conversation. It is a great conversation. If you're taking a controlled med and taking it as prescribed, then it's not abuse. You hear that? That's great. That is can't spell Lou. If you're taking a controlled med, taking it as prescribed, then it is not abuse. I'm going to leave that up there while I talk about Jonestown, okay? But Jonestown, as in every cult, when you've got that charismatic leader and that person they don't come out as a lunatic in initially. It starts out looking like the greatest thing ever. It starts out looking like unconditional love and support, right? That's usually how that works. It doesn't start instantly as horrific. If it starts instantly as horrific, right, then it doesn't prosper. Nothing then becomes, it is not an issue at that point. Down to down, you think that if you're taking a controlled substance exactly how it is prescribed, that would still be abuse? Is that what we're referring to? If you're taking pain meds and you're taking it the way that it's prescribed, I don't have an issue with that in any way. People need to treat pain, right? Absolutely. You're in need of treating pain. Now, the first time you take a Norco, you'll understand. No disrespect. Do you have any idea? I've eaten 50,000 Norcos. Seriously, I used to take them 16 at a time. I had a 7 gram a day dope habit. The thing with these is this. If you're taking them the way that they're prescribed, you'd be taking them for pain. So if it says on the label, take this pill twice a day as needed for pain, and you got no pain, you're not taking it the way it is that it's prescribed. You follow me? You're not taking it the way it's prescribed. If you take it the way it's prescribed, it doesn't have the same effect. Painkillers treat pain unless there's no pain to treat. And if there's no pain to treat, then they start to treat spiritual pain, emotional pain. They take away everything that's bumming you out and they make you get that feeling of just contentment that can't be explained to anyone. But if you're in pain, you don't get that, right? I did pain meds for so long and never caught any kind of a buzz in any way until I took that crap when I didn't need it in any way, shape, or form. And then it was a completely different animal. Plain and simple. It was just a different animal. Now, you could get addicted the first time you take a pill, but that does not make that abuse. What makes it abuse is when you start doing things that you are not supposed to do. A person who is a drug addict can get addicted by doing things past the date of expiration. You follow me? If a person takes drugs for 3 days or a person takes drugs for 6 days and it's the first time they ever did it, right? or when your 30-day script only lasts 6, that's misuse or abuse. Yeah, that's definitely a thing too. Yeah, Norco they were giving that out like cotton candy for a long time. It was, it got really popular. And before that, it was, what was the other one? Loratab. Well, yeah, Loratab was big. Yeah, there was just a bunch of different name brands of all the same. They're all hydrocodone. They're all a hydrocodone product, and then they just do different crap with what do you call it? With what anti-inflammatory, right? The anti-inflammatories that they mix into it is really kind of the that's really where it starts to jump the rails. And I like what Lady J said. Pain meds are not inherently bad. They're not. I can't take them. I'm a drug addict, right? And my drug of choice is opiates. I abused everything on the planet. The first time I took opiates when I didn't need them for pain, a switch went on, and I knew that was what I wanted every day for the rest of my life, right? But as a guy that was an athlete that competed, right, for a really long time, I did a ton of pain meds and never had a problem of any kind because I was always really badly messed up. I took them after surgeries. I took them after broken bones. But boy, oh boy, the first time I took that crap and I didn't need it, it was on cracking. I mean, really, really bad, on and cracking. The morphine molecule and I, we don't get along, or we get along way too well. Lady J says, ironic that legal fentanyl is so prevalent in the news. We have people in the hospital refusing it who need it for traumatic injuries because they're terrified of it. Yeah.
That a lot.
Yeah, no, I hear this, and people will reach out to me and say, the doctor is trying to put me on fentanyl. What the hell? Hey, take it.
Two different things.
Right? Two completely different things. Alpha fentanyl, the stuff that is being made by pharmaceutical companies, is a painkiller that is excellent for treating really severe pain. It is exactly what it is good for. They have a delivery method through a Duragesic patch. If that is being put on and used the way it is supposed to be used, and you're using it for pain, it is an excellent painkiller. Excellent painkiller. And they're not inherently evil. They're not. Some of us will never be able to do them, right? Some of us will never be able to do them. I'm not an anti-drug channel. I'm not an anti-drug guy, right? I'm not. And certainly not with pain meds. There's a reason, right, that the MU receptor is in us. And it's because think of the horror if you couldn't treat pain. Good God, can you imagine? Right? So it's good that we can. And sadly, some of us, don't have the same capacity for being able to do it well. This right here, that is a squirrel in a basket. Oh, she had her back to the camera. She did another really fantastic yawn. Well, I wish that you guys could have seen that. Mischief managed. We are going to continue to pray for your husband. Okay. And that's, and everybody else that's on the roads out there in the ugly weather. It is a tough time to be on the road. Zelda, I am so glad to hear that is working out. Journal to hell. Anytime you are starting a new medication, anytime you're starting a new treatment, anytime you're starting anything that is going to be new in your walk, right, and your journey, the more you can write about it, the more you're going to have really excellent feedback from yourself on how well it really is working. And if there's any changes of any kind that aren't good, that's where it's going to show up. If you don't journal, then the things that happen during the day where you go, oh, that was kind of weird, right? Well, we blow it off. We put it in the back. Don't blow off anything. Journal, write down about everything that you're doing, please. Please, 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 please. All right. I am Captain Tommy. We will see you on the next one. People, check back. I know that. Oh, and do me a favor. Check and see if you're subscribed. Good Good Lord, man. The number of people that are emailing and complaining. I don't know what's going on, man. The big red button is really having a problem with this. So just check. I promise you it's not us. Why would I ever, I would never, that doesn't even make sense, people. Think about it. I would never do that. I want everybody here, right? So we will see all of you on the next one. I'm Captain Tommy. Calhounis, where are you at? He's looking like a Viking this morning. For the love. He does kind of always look like a Viking, but today, no, he does. He sports the Viking thing, but today he really looks like a Viking. Scary.
I want to see with a chainmail hat.
Do you have a
chainmail hat?
Right?
You know the ones that they wear underneath the your battle helmet.
I believe they call that a coif.
A coif, according to Calhoun.
Excuse you.
Your uncle said, "Watch your mouth." What's the matter with you? We're live.
So
yeah, you wash that out with soap. What's the matter with you? Tighten up your game. Say that kind of thing on the air. It's good to see you, Calhoun. You're going to be busy.
I had something to say, but it immediately fled my mind.
So are you working other than the boat today, or are we just boating it? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm cooking breakfast right now. And I'll be headed to work in like 15 minutes. Hopefully I can eat this egg and sausage real quick. And then tonight my friend Takea it's her birthday, or we're celebrating her birthday, and I'm going to take this opportunity to see all my friends before I move. So we're going to go do some fire dancing and some music and some bump and grind. It'll be great.
Snap some photos.
Yeah, definitely.
All righty, Calhoun. I love you. And we'll see all of you on the next one. I'm Captain Tommy. Bye-bye. Thanks, Calhoun.